pointing out names or anything, or people or places. There are some people who are called flatlanders that still believe that the world is flat, and they have religions based on it and everything else. So luckily we have gone beyond that boundary here in this room, which I'm really grateful for. I always start with something light and funny, but I heard this this little thing on NPR, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Does anybody listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me? Did you hear it just recently?
No.
Oh, well, yesterday they had the best of the past, the blast from the past. And the question, there were 3 questions, and you can tell me which one you want to answer. So when Henry David Thoreau went to Walden Pond, why he did not want to talk. He wanted total silence. He wanted to write there, but there was an issue, and this is also the issue with space as well, is he didn't have any place to wash his clothes. There were no rocks or anything else that he could wash his clothes. So here are your 3, and you tell me which one you think is correct. A was he burnt his clothes as they got dirty. B is he buried his clothes when they were dirty. Or C is he took him home to his mother. Take a choice. C, exactly. He only lived a mile from his mother, and he did go home a lot with his dirty laundry, and that is a true story. That was so funny. How little we've changed. Oh gosh. So my talk today is about shifting self-imposed boundaries and looking beyond the horizon, beyond the flatlanders in our lives, and turning in something and taking our small selves and going beyond that and going beyond into the great unknown sometimes, which is very, very scary, and opening up to the mystery of what is wanting to be revealed in and through all of us, and awakens you like the Buddha was awakened, where he sat in that silence until he had that aha moment, and he became the Bodhi, which means the awakened, enlightened one at that moment in time. So there is that part of us that always wants to remain small and not, push our boundaries or rock the boat in any way. And we're fearful, and lots of times we are pushed by fear, I always say, or pulled by faith. And I bet all of us would rather be pulled by faith than pushed by fear. But it's always that tug and that pull and, that contradiction within us self that says what is small and what is big, and I'm happy where I am. Why would I want to change anything at all? And so the most important step, and Krishna said this too in our lives, is to discover who you are, which is that divine spirit in that deepest place of you. And so when we think about it, and I thought, well, people say to me lately, well, what do you want? Do you want something more? And I said, I'm really kind of happy in my place right now. And I thought of how I live small. And I do have a small house, but I love my house and I love where I live. We live in the country. Rob is my new neighbor across the road, and we live in the country, and it's very quiet where we live. But then all of a sudden I thought, I even love my house and it's small. But what I really would like is, if you have seen my yard, it's not a yard at all. It's a wild weed patch, because it's like an acre, and so Smokey can't even walk through it. I can't walk through it without going through the holes. I thought, Pam, what you really want is another bathroom. And so I thought, I'm going to put that on a list now, and my yard landscaped, because I'm really aware that I cannot do this at this point in time in my life, is landscape and keep my yard up. So there are some times that we turn our backs on reality and are not aware of the knowledge that is waiting for us to come through, because it is not, it's not like it's intellectual. It's more than that. It is whole body sometimes, how we fight against that feeling of we should move forward, or there is something more that we want. We're afraid, again, of rocking that boat. So what we look for is an opportunity for extraordinary freedom, here to yet unknown, into the mystery. I always love Tom Ingman. He always talks about the mystery. But that's what excites us. Throughout evolution, we have been looking into the mystery. We have been known for our constancy and our consistency, looking into that mystery as long as we've been, because all movement has the appearance of something that does not move and moves all, and yet moves all things. And so that is the mystery. How can we look at something that has the appearance like this, or us, or anything else, that intelligence, and yet it moves all things in our lives? When you read biographies of many of the inventors and some of the and many of the geniuses, what you learn is that they did go into that quiet, they did go into the listening, and they prepared their consciousness to receive that responsibility for that which was going to be revealed. They go first into the meditation and the quiet, and then they allow the ideas to flow in and through them. From where they claim those inventions and that genius comes into our bodies, our minds, our souls, and out into the world. It flows from the surface into our consciousness to be picked up and acted upon. So when you see some inventions and you see things that are coming, first it comes to you, and then it out pictures in a different way. For years, and I'm saying at least 10, 20 years, I have said, look at, there's a big gap there, 10, 20 years, maybe eternity. I said that long before I think the internet is an interloper. I think before we had all the noise on the planet, all of the things that distract us, I think we could communicate worldwide, even though it was round and it wasn't flat, it went around the bottom side too. And I think just with our minds, because that's what we use. You know, our third eye they say is totally just going away because we don't use it, and that third eye is something that we're born with, and it's now crystallized. It is the pineal gland in our head, right here in the middle of it, and it's totally crystallized lots of times because we don't use it. It's like anything else. If you don't use it, it dies. It doesn't goes away. And the reason that it was so valid in the beginning of life is because it had to be. It had to be for our instincts. It had to be for knowledge. It had to be a lot of things. It is that intuitive side of us that unless we nurture it through meditation, through quiet, through listening to our inner self, and then acting on that knowledge, that when you know that you know that you know, it too crystallizes. So I think that the internet I think it's an interloper in our lives, and that if we just go within many times, how many times have you been scared about someone not showing up, or you're afraid about something, and you go within and you go, no, they're okay, or life is okay, and it's going to work out fine. When you quiet the mind and the truth comes forth, not the fear of, oh, what if. And that is kind of like what I'm talking about, or how when the phone rings who it's going to be, or when you're thinking about someone and they call you right at that moment. That's lightning energy going to that person or that situation in that time. So there is an opening available in everyone's consciousness for that creative force, and anything that the intellect can see, it's not alone. The intellect is not alone doing this. It is whole body, energetic systems all around us that are taking on all of this information that we have. It is like the river of life is flowing through us, and we are immersed in that river of life too. This flow of creative life is from that invisible center that I call God. You can call it whatever you want, Buddha, Krishna, whatever the thing is itself. It is the thing itself, and when we open up to it, it flows in and through and as us, and it takes us out of our smallness when we allow it. When we say, show me what needs to be revealed, show me, as I used to I still go to sleep at night many times and say, reveal to me that which needs to be revealed in that higher realm. And then I am open and receptive, and I'll have these really dreams that are so profound and so understandable to help me answer all of those questions. When I have looked for people, sometimes I have looked for people that I have never even met before, and I'll wake up and I'll go to the computer and know exactly where I can find them. It's just one of those things that I've trained I don't know if it's trained in my brain, or I spent a lot of time in nature outdoors growing up, where I was one with the land and the rivers and everything else. You know, the minute you put your foot in the stream, you any place in nature, when you instantly come into nature and you're outside, you take on all of that good that nature has to offer, that has been here forever and ever and ever. So when I am in that place, there is the universe within that speaks to me, because we are the universe within. We are all of it and more when we open up and get how it is. Speaking of the earth, I saw Frozen 2 with my granddaughter yesterday. And Frozen 2, it's so amazing. Now I did not see Frozen 1. My daughter says you have to see Frozen 1. The music's really great. But Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 apparently have the same theme. And it's take care of the earth, and the earth will take care of you, because it won't be frozen. It will freeze and crack. And so it's about going and taking care of the earth again, and making sure that the good and the real and the truth is revealed in and through. And as you, Moana, one of my favorite kids movies now, because of Allison and watching it. It's all about, look at me, I am the sun, the sea, and all of it. And when she discovers she is all of it too. So it's all of these themes, and I'm thinking how wonderful. Our kids are growing up and they're already being indoctrinated in a good way about taking care of our mother and making sure that we stand in the truth and stand for good and something greater. So those who have followed the unique stream in their source have found a clear, a pure ocean of life in which they move, breathe, and have their being. You know, as Rumi said, once you discover that you are the ocean in a drop instead of a drop in the ocean, it changes everything. Because all of the same properties in that drop in the ocean is what the ocean is made up of. And if all the drops in that ocean were not unique, they would not come together in that, I say, that orchestrated ebb and flow of life. So we are the water. Oh, this is what was Frozen 2. It's not that the theme throughout Frozen 2 is the water remembers. The water holds the memories. And so they go in search of the ice and the water that holds the memories. And I've always believed that. You know, it's all the way back to Dr. Emoto with his emotional, pictures of what water is like in different musical senses. So those who have followed their unique stream back to source are those who become, I think, happier, more awakened. They see beyond the boundaries that they already have, out of their smallness and into something greater. They take chances when they have to as well. So their spiritual awakening is guided by the world through the absolute knowing that there is something greater than they are. So this is a mystical concept to some, but throughout history, it has always been the mystery that invigorates our imagination, and it is the imagination that always gives shape to our universe. Always the imagination. Einstein wrote, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand. And we're all searching, I say we're all searching for nirvana. We're all searching for that pleasant valley. Oh, you found us. For that eternal bliss. It's the eternal bliss that we're all searching for. And you have choices at all the roads. You can take the high road or the low road. And the high road may take more spiritual expertise and more spiritual work for you to reach that. But what we're going for is going back to source, to the oneness, to knowing who you are. God in action, God in being, God in the sense that we are going home in that bliss. And that there is, once you have reached that bliss, I don't know, I've never reached total nirvana, so I don't know. Some do drugs, they do addictions, there's lots of things they do to reach that level of understanding. And of course, one of our most famous stories is Ram Dass, who took acid and then met the Swami, or the Swami. What is he? Not the Swami. Who did he meet?
Neem Karoli Baba.
Neem Karoli Baba, thank you. Thank you very much. And basically, the swamp, the Neem Karoli Baba in India said, you don't need these drugs. And he had like 40 tabs of acid. And Neem Karoli Baba took all of those 40 tabs of acid at once, and it didn't even affect him. And that was it for Ram Dass. And then he turned to Ram Dass before the acid, not after, and said, you're missing your mother. Your mother is in the heaven world. She's in the stars right now. And there's no way that Neem Karoli Baba could have known that. And then there are other stories he tells when he went go back like 10 years later, and he had a whole bus load of people, and they were lost their way, and they stopped at a grassy field. There was no communication at all. And Neem Karoli Baba comes running across this field saying, we have lunch prepared for all 50 of you. And that is that pineal gland that is totally working and totally at one with the universe, working in and through and as you, if you let it. So we're all searching for that. And what we can do is we don't want to be in pain ever. We want to deaden the pain. We want to do anything to get out of fear and anxiety and anything that helps us. And so what I know for sure is that what has helped me the most, and I'm not going to say anything about my past, but what has helped me the most is that oneness with the divine within me, knowing that there is something greater and I can draw upon it, and it shows up every time I turn around. Every time there is an obstacle within me or without me, I can use this tool and go into the quiet and listen to the greatest wisdom that is not mine, but it is something greater speaking to me. So when we turn to Source, choosing to take the high road, we open up to that ocean of knowledge. Actually, they have done studies, and some of the psychedelics, I don't know about all of them, but psychedelics do block your brain. You're doing a step. It's an interloper, again, into connecting to that internet that knows everything. And so when the drugs come, sometimes they actually block your brain from just receiving all of your good on that deeper level, and they create that dependency on something that is an interloper. My son-in-law and you're always a choice. You're always a choice. We're all gonna get there one way or another. You can take the long road or the high road and get there a little faster. That's what Jesus said too. You're all gonna come home. You're all gonna get there. It just depends upon the road you wish to choose and how you wish to go to get there once, when you arrive. So I was with my son-in-law, Ian, who I love and I'm very close to. At least I think I am, maybe he doesn't, but ask him his opinion. But at Thanksgiving, and he said, Pam, he said, I'm doing this very dramatic. He said, Pam, the new Star Wars, they talk about the way. And I said, oh yeah, that's the Tao. And he said, no, it's the way. And I said, okay, it's the way. I don't care what you call it. But again, in that Star Wars, all of those films and all of the writing, it is about that oneness coming in and through and as you and sharing this. So the truth is that every person can step into that river from Source and change their thinking, change their life. And the ones that have put their feet in the river connected with Source, usually spending a great amount of time in that silence. The sages are the ones that become awakened and continue to live from leaning into the flow, leaning into the light. If you lean into the flow and stop rowing your boat upstream, because when we row our boat upstream, we don't move and we get exhausted. And then we keep trying and we keep beating those dead horses and they still don't get up. If something isn't working for you, go within, check within your own self and see what it is that will work for you. Because in the silence, you will always find the love of the divine within you. It resides in all of us. There are no exceptions. There are simply no answers to some of the great pressing questions we have. But when we drink deeply from the river of our existence, it will quench our thirst. We humans have a compelling desire to feel okay, valued, loved, and loving. And the greatest desire of all, when you ask people, is to What is it that I can do that is greater than I am? How can I serve? How can I love? How can I give? In what ways can I receive where I've been cutting off all my good? So those are really the things that drive us the most. It's really very simple. To love and be loved is the greatest, and to look outside of yourselves, to find something greater than you are that inspires you and makes you happier. Like groups like this, when we come together and we hear about how we are one, and how when we go in and let go and let the divine fill us, that our lives become whole, perfect, and complete. That our lives are unfolding perfectly no matter what, as our wonderful Geagan says. So as the psalmists say, if I ascend into heaven, you are there. If I descend into Sheol, the land of the dead, behold, you are there also. The gift is developing the ability to see how everything that is for you or against you has its roots within you. It's all an inside job. It really is. And it's waiting for you. You know, we close off so many things. I am trying very hard. Someone will say, would you like? And I say, no. Before they even get the answer out, before they even get the question out. Now I'm saying, well, let me think about that. Yes, and let me think about that, because the yes and is what creates our connection with someone instead of cutting them off, and also it helps us be at one, and also gives us time to look and see if this is something that you would like or not like. So I've stopped saying no, and I'm exhausted with all the yeses, all the responsibility. So Ernest Holmes remembered that the enemy is a reflection. Ernest Holmes wrote this. Remember that the enemy is a reflection of your belief that someone or something is against you. Your belief is not true, nor is it true that the person or situation against you conditions against you. Conditions stretch us and cause us to discover new dimensions within one another and ourselves. And I say we are always at choice. Again, we can be pushed by fear or pulled by faith. Ernest Holmes wrote, our soul moves towards challenges because they stretch us in ways that separate us from what we've done forever that kept us playing small, and circumstances, and push us into circumstances into greater good for our own selves. You know, we're at a time sometimes where we just want to not be challenged. We just want to let it all just let it be. And I am for let it be. But not when you realize all of a sudden, like I woke up and said, oh, I could landscape my yard if I had more good. You know, this would be a wonderful gift for me, for my own self. So I'm looking beyond our boundaries and toward a greater horizon, which offers us the opportunity to discover the tremendous, awesome power of the presence of God at our center, at the core of every life experience. And as students of truth, we must eventually reconcile ourselves to the principle that there is no force in the universe which opposes life of each of us. It is meant to be that we live at our highest and best at all times. A loving person lives in a loving world. A hostile person lives in a hostile world. To realize that you are at the center of every person's soul. God is enthroned, compassionate and caring. That is a lot to think of, but it is the divine givingness of spirit that is always gives without any effort whatsoever when we open up to it. So our future can only be regarded as probabilities floating upon a sea of infinite possibilities. Listen to your divine intuition always. Open up to it. Know that you are greater than what is happening to you in this very moment. And know with me also that you are renewed in your faith. Your spiritual muscle is growing. The river will widen. The barriers will disappear as you walk through the valley of the shadow of indecision and doubt. The river of goodwill will carry you back to the ocean of your being beyond the horizon. And so it is, and that's the way it is. I love each and every one of you. God is the power. Namaste. Happy post-Thanksgiving.